Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of your Frederish podcast. What is up, folks? My name's Gary, and today I don't remember what we're gonna talk about. Actually, I need some music. I need actually a specific song to remember the topic of this episode. Could you, director, help me out, please? Oh yeah, now I get it. I get it now. So, no mystery, we're going to talk about money. Actually, personal finances, domestic finances if you prefer, but it's summarizing it, the ability, why not to call it an ability, to keep and maintain, not only making, but keeping and maintaining your money, the money you make, all right? So you don't waste too much money, or more than you should or could. And well, this is absolutely a science, I believe. But regardless of what I believe or what you can think about it, this is something extremely necessary, something that unfortunately we do not have in Brazil. All right. So jokes aside, and let's make fun of it, not fun of it, but let's make it in a fun way or the funniest way possible, but make sure that we're talking about something really, really important and serious. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, so as I always like starting off our podcast here, when we're talking about topics that require usually require expertise, or at least they require expertise for you to pay for, right? The purpose of this episode, the purpose of this voice message here, that's what a podcast is, basically a voice message, is not to teach you to present myself as an expert on the topic. I am totally not. I'm an English language teacher, so just let's make things clear before we get it started. All right, so the idea here is just as usual, to talk, to practice it, and of course to learn vocabulary regarding to the topic, right? Guys, you absolutely have no idea how many words, how much vocabulary we have involved to this topic specifically. We're not going to address them all, right? Because the idea is to be quick and specific here, and of course fun. All right, but let's just get it started by talking about part one of finances, of personal finances. Actually, part one of any type of finances, that is the savings account. So what is the savings, or we call it savings account in the bank. The bank calls it that way. But savings is like the things, the money or things of value you keep, you don't spend, you don't give away, you don't pass along. All right. So this is the first step. All right. You do in order to make sure that at the end of the month you will have extra money, or money enough for you to do whatever you find necessary. But the idea is to keep saving until you get to spend it in the future. All right, but okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so the savings account, all right, is something, just for the sake of the vocabulary, that the banks possess. Okay, it's a tool, all right, that the banks created many years ago. But the principle, the idea behind it, dates, traces back to ancient times. Ever since the first bank came out, which I absolutely have no idea, but at least more than 1,000 years ago, all right, maybe 2,000 years ago, because when we read the Bible, we see Jesus talking about lending money out of interests and charging interests with it. Okay, so this makes me think that banks are older than we think. But no matter how exactly old they are, let's just think about the fact that people always have ever since, not always, but ever since society became more or less what it is today, meaning that people started forming villages, cities and states, there was surplus, meaning extra assets, okay? Extra assets. Assets, well, this word was planned to be, not at this point, further on this podcast. But anyways, I'll bring it here. Assets are everything. An asset is basically everything that possesses value or some kind of a power, okay? In Portuguese, we call it ativo, okay? So let us not confuse Portuguese ativo with the word active, okay? Because the word what we call ativo in English is when we talk about money, finances, everything. In English is asset, okay? So the extra assets that are something natural, okay, from any well-established society, okay, is something that people in general, not today but always in human history, wanted to storage, wanted to save, wanted to keep, to spend, or to spend in the future, or even for exchange with other people and making extra money from it. All right, so that's it. So let's just pass to the investment part. Okay, so once you have extra money, you will necessarily go to the second stage of keeping and having money, that is making your money grow, okay, making your money expand, okay, or most of all, making your investments expand, because investments are not always money, okay, they involve money, but usually they're things, okay, let's put it in a simple way. And so once you start investing, once you start trying to and making your best efforts to get your patrimony bigger somehow, okay, little by little, but eventually bigger, people will start calling you an investor, okay? And that's exactly what you are, what you're gonna be if you start investing. Investors are people who invest their money and assets, all right? Okay, so what kind of investors we can name here? We can point out here how many, types, how many categories do we have? Okay, we have those investors that are business people, meaning people who develop things, develop businesses, like companies or service, or offering services, selling things, everything that the market presents us out there. Okay, they're all investors, they're all investors. And there's this one French word, I really love it, some people don't, called entrepreneur, okay? In French they say entrepreneur, a word that basically means enterpriser, okay? Someone who has got businesses or enterprises, are entrepreneurs, okay? Business people, they're all synonyms, they're all the same word, they all mean the same thing, all right? So that's it. So all the entrepreneurs, the investors, the business people, businessmen, businesswomen, businesswomen, okay, in plural, they all are looking forward to increasing their patrimony or making their assets grow, consequently making more money, all right? So another kind of investor, another kind of business people is those who are called speculators, okay? So what are speculators? Speculators are people who buy stocks from companies, okay? So what are stocks? Stocks is what we call in Portuguese ações, okay? There are two names for ações, okay? The ações as we know them in Brazil, in Portuguese, that are, let me just explain what they are so you can figure out exactly what I'm talking about. Stocks are papers that say you or whoever is the owner of those papers possess a small part of that company, okay? So say for example I have papers saying that I have 0.5% of Amazon, for example. That would totally make me a very rich man, but that's not the point. All right, so this is exactly what stocks are. Okay, there is another name for it, that is share. Okay, they are also called share because, as the verb shares suggests in its meaning, because the papers represent a whole part of the company that is shared, in the meaning divided into thousands or maybe even millions of pieces. All right, so that's what the stocks are, and the people who buy stocks are usually called speculators. Okay, they are also investors, they may be also entrepreneurs. There's no official separation. Okay, but the basic idea of buying, I forgot to say what they do, right? They buy these speculators here. They buy the stocks for a price and sell them for a price a little bit higher. Okay, so they make money out of this difference. Okay, the money that how much they paid for the stock and how much they sold it. All right, so that's what speculation is. All right, so another type of investors, or another type of investment that you can have, that we can talk about here, is you buying parts of the company directly with the owners. Okay, so say for example your neighbor wants to start selling lemonade in his house, in his front yard. Okay, in front of his house. All right, so you've already been to his house, you already drank his lemonade, and it's great, it's the best lemonade ever. Okay, so you have an idea, you think to yourself, it doesn't take much of a brainer to get to this conclusion, but you think to yourself like, hey, this guy is able to make a hell of a good lemonade, I completely believe that it's going to sell a lot. Okay, people will love it and it will sell a lot. He's gonna make much money with that. So, but he doesn't have all the money necessary to have the business started. Okay, so you could, for example, buy the tent. Okay, or the cups in which the lemonades will be served. Okay, so you can buy something to make sure, or even give your friend, in this example, directly money to get his business started, his lemonade business started. Okay, so this is what there might be more names to it, but usually these people are called angel investors. Okay, so these angels and angel investors are those who believe in small companies, or at least smaller than they are, right? In terms of how much they have and how much they can pay for, believing that these companies have a bright future. So another type of investment, very, very popular investment is public bonds. Okay, so what are public bonds? Okay, let's start off with the word bond. Okay, a bond is a paper that possess a governmental promise. Okay, in Portuguese we call them títulos. Okay, títulos públicos. They have the promise that the government will return the money the money, the amount you paid for that specific bond, with an extra percentage that outwins, so to say, how much you could do with the savings account, and above the inflation. All right, okay, so you're gonna have like a guaranteed, okay, mark this word, guaranteed amount of profit. Oh, I forgot to say the word. When you buy something for $10, for example, and you sell for $15, you have $5 of profit. Okay, the money you make out of your investments is called profit, no matter what kind of investment we're talking about. Okay, Profit is the word. I forgot to mention that before. My bad. Anyways, getting back to the public bonds here. Okay, so when you buy a public bond, it's a guarantee that you will have, okay, in the future, that money return with, a percentage, a fixed percentage of profit. Okay, usually 1%, 2%, but here's the cat leap. Above inflation. Okay, this is very interesting, especially in countries like ours, especially in countries like Brazil, in which we have like a significant amount of inflation. Okay, inflation, I think that there's no need for explanation about. I hope. I mean, I wouldn't like to, but that's what I believe, judging by the fact that this is a very common thing, right? So here's the thing with public bonds. They're totally they're a way to guarantee that the money you have won't get corroded by inflation. Okay, because that's exactly what happened to money once you keep them under the mattress, for example, under your bed. Okay, the money loses value naturally. Okay, I'm not here to talk about the specific cause of it, or who's to blame, if it's the government or the companies or capitalism or whatever. No, but this is a fact. Okay, if you have $10 today and you keep them, you have a 10 reais bill. Okay, oh, by the way, the paper that the money is, we call it bill. Okay, in Portuguese, nota. Okay, so a 10 reais bill is a nota de 10 reais. All right, so if you keep a 10 reais bill under your mattress or anywhere with you, 1 year later, this 10 reals are probably 9.90. I don't know, 9 reais 90 cents or 9.80 or maybe even less. Okay, so this is exactly why public bonds are so much of something that investors usually look for. I mean, all investors have some kind of some percentage, some considerable amount of their investments into public bonds. And there's many types of public bonds, just as there's many types of shares, that is, company stocks. Okay, but that's it. Okay, so so you have your money invested in different places. You have your own business. All right, so you will want to make sure your money, remain safe forever, right? So what do? Yeah, there's just lots of answers to this question, of course, and that's how people are making their richness pass from generation to generation. But the most common one would be buying lands. Okay, buying terrains, buying houses, buying, places where people live. And this has a name in English: estate. Okay, with an E at the beginning, estate. All right, so a company that you hire, okay, you contract to rent your house or to sell your house or resell your house, is called a real estate company. Okay, or the person who does that, the professional that works in this area, is called broker. Okay, so a professional who works in this area is called a real estate broker. Okay, in Portuguese, corretor de imóveis. All right, okay, but lands and all these things are usually a safe way to make your money remain, so to say, in the future, because of the valuation. Okay, the prices go up. Okay, first of all, because of inflation, as I mentioned before, and second, because these things like houses, and estate, as I said, tend to get valuated over the years. All right, this is a natural process. I have no intention trying to explain that, because I am not sure why this happens, but it just happens. Okay, I believe it's because because this is something everybody wants, okay? And since we're talking about what everybody wants, let's not forget that in the marketing of things, in business, there is a kind of a golden rule called demand and supply, okay? That is the amount of people that want something or need it, sometimes really bad, versus the amount of supplies, that is how much the market has to offer this thing. So the more, okay, this isn't something new, okay? You probably are familiar with this term. That is, the more people want something, the more the price goes up, okay? If added to the fact that lots of people want something and there isn't much of it available out there, it will make the price of these things, there's here a business expression, skyrocket, meaning go up to the sky like a rocket, okay? Meaning, being more specifically, getting the prices to increase, to go up really, really high, okay? All right, but let us not only talk about the good things of the market, okay? Let's talk about the bad things or the dangers existing out there, okay? So if someone has a business or says that they have a business, says that he has a business, and it's not real, or there is something, untrue in it, we can call it a fraud, okay? There is a very common type of fraud called, in Portuguese we say pyramid, like pyramid, but in English we call Ponzi scheme, okay? There's a whole history behind it, okay? I'm not gonna mention it, but if you Google Ponzi, Ponzy, scheme, like, something wrong, you will find a lot about it, okay? So be careful not to get into a Ponzi scheme. That is, in short, basically, a Ponzi scheme is like when someone start getting people's money over a super miraculous investment, or so is that what the person behind it says, and then you get people to put their money in this business even without knowing it. Of course they can know it because it doesn't exist, it's a fraud. It's it requires a fraudster to have very good conversation manipulation skills, right? But they put their money and then they receive over 1 week or 2 weeks like 20% return, 15%, or maybe even more, okay, than that, which is something amazing, unbelievable. And this is just part of the fraud, because once people receive this amount, this ridiculously miraculous amount of money, they will put more money, okay? And this is exactly what happens in a chain effect. And so the fraudster succeeds to, at the end of a period, okay, of existing, of that fraud, to raise a monstrous amount of money, okay? And then she just goes away with the money, and people just lose it, okay? I just was very short about it, but that's more or less what the Ponzi scheme is, okay? So it's very, very important to be extremely careful with your money, okay? There is a saying, very, very popular out there, that says there's no free lunch, okay? Meaning that everything people do, every time someone approaches you offering some kind of business, offering some kind of money return, okay, financial return over an investment, check this out very carefully. Ask questions, okay? Ask basically what is the purpose of that business. So what is it that they're providing to society at the end of the day, right? What services, what goods, what value is being added to society, okay? Because people pay for things that they need or want, okay? Things people need or want are called value, okay? If there aren't any values added to society, go away from this business, okay? Just be careful. It's very important to be smart about your money. Otherwise, you lose it. Okay, so many years in the future, when you're old, or at least old enough to not being able or not being a good idea, continue doing what you've done, what you will have done for your entire life. It's time for you to stop working, okay? But you will stop working, but you cannot stop receiving, money. So how do you do that? Okay, being very technical here, it doesn't exist. Okay, there's no way you stop and then miraculously money will come to your bank account. Okay, it is possible, but I'm trying to be a little technical here. Okay, so how do you do that? You will have saved money your whole life. Okay, directly or indirectly. How do you do that directly? Directly is you look for a private pension fund. What is a pension fund, first of all? Because we have private pension fund and social pension funds in Brazil, at least. Okay, a private pension fund is a company that will deduct, okay, through you, directly conversation with you, will directly a amount of percentage of your money, of your salary, of your monthly income. Okay, income, by the way, is the amount of money that enters your account every month or every year. Actually, you will pay this company a monthly amount for years. Okay, and then when you're retired, you will start receiving that money in the form of a salary back. Okay, and there is a word for it, for this whole vacation forever, okay, that is called retirement. Okay, so you're gonna have your retirement, meaning you will stop working but won't stop receiving. Okay, so when you're having your retirement, you can say you are retired. Okay, retired from the market. Okay, about the social pension fund, this is something that people who work under the social contracting system, okay, we call it CLT in Brazil, these people have a amount of their salary automatically deducted from their payroll monthly, and then years later there's a lot of rules that keep changing, that have changed in the past years, but long story short, we'll manage to stop working but continue receiving their salaries. Okay, well, so that's it for this episode. We may talk about it more. Okay, there are many more words out there related to this universe. Okay, credit, debt, budget. Okay, I really recommend you keep looking for topics like that. You read topics like that, you listen to people talking about it. Also experts, okay, specialists. The downside of listening to specialists for you guys, English students, is that most of the times they're too technical and hard to understand, right? So I try to keep it here in a very simple way, and I hope I have been successful on it. So you guys tell me in the comment section here. And that's it for today. Okay? So thank you so very much for your valuable company. I see you in the next episode. Bye bye.